Sports betting took me from making $10 an hour as a waiter to now making millions of dollars at only 20 years old. But in the beginning of my journey, I didn't know where to start. There really wasn't that many options out there to learn how to sports bet, but the ones that were out there, they weren't even profitable themselves. All saying different things and it just didn't even work. So today I'm gonna give you the exact guide that I wish I had when I first started. And by the end of this video, you'll have a simple step-by-step blueprint to start winning bets consistently without guessing, chasing losses, and just generally making the same mistakes that I did when I first started that costed me thousands and thousands of dollars. Let's start off with step number 1. Step 1 is picking the right platforms. This is not only picking the right platforms, but how to use these platforms. This is how you get your foot into the door of becoming a sports betting millionaire. Now, what most beginners do, myself included when I first started, by the way, which is the wrong move to do, is that they'll just pick their favorite platform, or they'll just pick one platform that they heard of and they'll just stick to that platform and not really do anything else. They're kind of just tailing any line or any prop that they see. That is the wrong thing to do. Like when I first started sports betting, someone sent me their Prize Picks referral code and I hopped on, I got a deposit match, and I kind of didn't really realize that there was other platforms. So I just stuck to Prize Picks. I was locking in inflated lines, which basically just means that lines that got bumped, and I was just losing all of my money by 0.5 or just losing in general without really realizing that that was the wrong thing to do. So as you can see here, I'm gonna take you through all the different platforms that I personally use. I'll even talk about some other platforms that aren't on this list, but I'm gonna explain to you exactly why this is so important. Now, most of you guys are just here on Prize Picks. Underdog are the biggest ones out there in the market right now. Now, Prize Picks, in my opinion, is actually the worst one. It's not a bad platform in itself, but I just mean out of all the available platforms, Prize Picks should just kind of be there as an option, but not your main platform that you use. I'll get into exactly what platform I mainly use in a second. Prize Picks is really good for beginners. It's super simple, it's easy to hop on, but I mean, that's about it. They do drop different promos like Taco Tuesdays, Flex Fridays, which is basically just discounted players. So imagine Stephen Curry's at 17.5 points, he'll go down to like 14.5, so you have a higher chance of winning. Those are statistically good for you to lock in, but that's about all I really use Prize Picks for, unless I do catch value. Let's say I'm on Prize Picks, but then I also have Sleeper, but then I see value on Prize Picks, as in a line is better on Prize Picks. That's the only time that I'll really take it on Prize Picks. And I'll show you exactly how to find value and do all that stuff in a second. But Prize Picks, most of you guys are probably already on it. If you guys are not on it, you guys can use it. I do think it's a good option for those promo days like I was saying. But then we get into something like Sleeper. Now, as you can see, Sleeper is different just in its overall branding and everything, but you can see that they actually have multipliers for their props. So it's actually like 1.7x or 1.8x, whereas Prize Picks is just a straight up 2x or 3x for whatever you're picking. Now, this comes into advantage when you understand how to look at different lines and all that stuff, but that's a little bit complicated and I'll get into that later. Prize Picks and Sleeper are generally the same thing, but as you can see, the payouts are more exact. I really like Sleeper because they have a lot of free squares. Their deposit match is really solid. It gets a 100% deposit match. So if you deposit $100, you get $100 back, which is crucial when you're first starting out. Now, the reason why I like Sleeper compared to Prize Picks is that they have a lot of options when it comes to props. For example, let's say there's an NBA game tomorrow. Prize Picks will take so long to drop certain props, whereas Sleeper will have it out hours before Prize Picks. And by the time a bunch of people lock in that play, the odds will change. And so Prize Picks will release that prop the next morning with way higher odds or worse odds, resulting in a higher line, if that makes sense. Now, if you don't have Sleeper in your state, that's okay, because the next option is also Underdog. Now, as you can see, Underdog is like the second big dog compared to Prize Picks. You can get up to $1,000 instantly in bonus cash with your first deposit. By the way, make sure you use code SECUREDPICKS when you use any of these platforms. As you can see right here, code SECUREDPICKS on Sleeper, Chalkboard, Underdog, and you will get these juicy ass bonuses when you first hop on these platforms, which is crucial to becoming profitable. If you guys use code SECUREDPICKS right now, you get up to $1,000 on Underdog, which the reason why I like Underdog is I think it's kind of a better version of Prize Picks, and it has really good value for sports like esports, which we just cash the fuck out in here. As you can see, this is just from this week. Now, Underdog is just like Prize Picks, where they have just a straight up 2x or 3x payout. It's not like Sleeper, but Underdog is pretty solid overall, especially with that deposit match bonus. That is crucial. Next up, My favorite platform is Chalkboard. Now Chalkboard is really good because they have the early lines, they have the exact payouts, but their promos are also really good too. So just remember, you can also use code SecuredPicks and you'll get a 100% deposit match as well. Now, why should I care about all these different platforms like Underdog, Chalkboard, Sleeper, whatever? This is because you need to understand that you should be getting on all of these platforms actually. There is no perfect platform. Every platform has their pros and cons. Some platforms have better lines than others. Some platforms have a bunch of promos, but the key is to actually use all these promos on every single platform so you can cash out. Let's say you have a $1,000 bankroll or like balance, right? You can hop on Underdog first, get that $1,000 matched, and then you just play a couple of slips and you withdraw $100, right? And then you deposit on Chalkboard and get another $100 match, and then deposit on Sleeper and get another $100 match. It is the only guaranteed way to win free cash with sports betting. Now, when you're first starting out, this is so crucial in stacking your bankroll because the bigger your bankroll, the easier it is to profit and to do all that stuff. Not only the deposit matches, but they have free squares. For example, I'll show you inside of my Discord, which is free to join, by the way. You can check it out in the description, but we use these free squares all the time to just stack up bankroll. Like, look, just yesterday alone, we cashed these 2 Sleeper and Chalkboard promos. So on top of the deposit matches that you get these free squares that they hand you. So like if you sign up to Chalkboard right now, you get this Curry free square and like 5 other free squares. On top of Sleeper, you'll just get all these free squares. And now free squares are just easy ass pairs when you do join, and then you just add them to your slip, and then it just brings up your multiplier. And typically the max you can put is $10, but that's still really solid because I have a method of stacking on a bunch of promos that I took $100 to over $2,000 using just promos. But utilizing this, right, I really want you guys to mainly stick to Sleeper and Chalkboard, and if you don't have that, stick to Underdog and just Prize Picks. But these platforms are really solid if you're specifically into player props. I'll get into game lines like money lines and spreads, into all that in the next step, and I'll show you the method that I use to cash out on DraftKings plays like this all the time. As you can see, we cashed 2 the other day. So it's great to use Prize Picks for their promos. It's great to use Sleeper and Chalkboard for their promos and their value lines. And the key to finding these lines is within your softwares and tools that you use. And I know the perfect tool that I personally use myself that is actually free and perfect for beginners because it's easy to use and you don't even really need to know much about sports to do research. Make sure you use code SecuredPicks on any of these books right here, and you will get all those deposit matches, all those free squares, and you'll just cash out. And on top of that, I will give you a free month into my premium access community. Inside premium is where I give you all of my personal plays that you saw all those greens from. Just this week alone, I'm up over $30,000 of profit, which all my premium members got to tail. So use code SecuredPicks, get all the deposit matches, all those promos, and on top of that, you will get access into premium completely for free. Make sure you head into the Discord in the description and submit proof that you use the code, and me and my team will immediately give you access to premium. Step 2 is understanding that there's multiple types of bets. Sports betting is a category of a bunch of different things that you could be doing. Now, understanding each type of bet is crucial because it directly affects how often you win, your chances of winning, and how much you win. And let's be real, if you don't know what the fuck you're betting on, you're never gonna win. You just be throwing money at random lines, throwing money on random, platforms, and not really understanding what you're betting on. Like if you don't know what game lines are and you're just betting on spreads or money lines, you don't really know what you're doing. You'd be lost as fuck. So let's recap exactly what each type of bet is and which one is the most optimal to do in your current situation. First up, there's player props like Prize Picks and all these, fantasy apps that we were talking about earlier. Player props is betting on the specific player to go over a certain prop, such as points, rebounds, or assists. Then there's game lines, which is betting on the actual game itself, such as spreads, money lines. Money line just means which team is gonna win. So let's say you have the Warriors going up against the Lakers. If you bet on Warriors money line, you're betting on the Warriors winning the game as a whole. You're not betting on a prop, you're not betting on any of that stuff. Now the spread is just like a certain spread that whatever the books make. Let's say the Warriors are at a -3 spread and they end up winning by 5 points. So if you -3 from that, they're still up by 2 points. So you still technically win that spread. But let's say the Warriors only win by 2 points. If it's a -3 spread and you -3 points from the total of the Warriors game, then technically you lost that spread. You didn't cover the spread. Now if you're running game lines, props, or whatever, depending on what platform you're on, you can run these things called straight bets or parlays. Parlays doesn't really have to do with props or game lines or whatever. It just has to do with the amount of bets on a slip. Basically, if you have 2 or more players, props, game lines, whatever on a single play, that is technically a parlay. But if you're betting on a single game line or a single prop, that is a straight bet. And now you're only able to straight bet on certain platforms like DraftKings and FanDuel. I personally use Bovada. You can bet on game lines if you're only 18 and up on Bovada, and you can even bet on it if you're in California or in certain states that isn't available in DraftKings or FanDuel. Now, if you want to hop on Bovada, just click the link down below in the description as well. You get a deposit match up to like $250 or something like that, but it's really good. I use Bovada every single day, and I'll even give you 6 months of free premium if you sign up. Just go send me proof in the Discord. But using Bovada is crucial because you can bet on game lines, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But basically, these are the type of main bets that you're going to be betting on. But just because you have an idea of what the bets are doesn't mean that you ultimately know which one to use. Now, that goes into my next step, because I'm going to show you how to actually start printing money and which of these steps is the best one. Strategy, okay? That is the next step. Everything lies down to your strategy. Because keep in mind, guys, if you have no strategy, you have nothing. You could have all the best picks in the world, the statistically highest odds of cashing, $1 million bankroll, but if you have no good strategy, you're fucked. Now, what does a good strategy look like? Now that you understand the different types of bets, which bets should you be focusing on and which bets should you be doing? Let's say you're primarily a prize picks user. You love player props, you love locking in LeBron over on points, and you love Curry, as in your 99% of other sports bettors. So listen here, you're gonna only run 2-mans. Now, what does this mean? This means that you only pair up 2 props at a time. You do not go crazy. You do not be locking in these 6-mans, 7-mans, 100-mans. Just trust me on this, stick to 2-mans because you're more likely to do some dumb shit, and I'd rather you be doing that on a 2-man than a 6-man. Now, I know you guys see all these guys that hit 6-mans every day, blah, blah, blah. They're locking in like 50 of them, bro, and they got like 10,000 different combinations of each 6-man. So then they're constantly winning at least 1 6-man out of the million that they lock in. And most of the time, that doesn't matter. I know statistically, on the long run side of things, 6-mans are more profitable than 2-mans statistically, but that is if you are a robot and you bet the same thing every day and you do not stray from that path and you continuously run those same bets over a long period of time. But like you and me, we are human. We have off days where we just want to bet a lot, or you know, we have days where we want to do some dumb shit. I'd rather do it on a 2-man. Now, if that doesn't emphasize what I'm about to say next, then you need to continue paying attention. But if you don't really care about staying loyal to prize picks or whatever, I would definitely hop on DraftKings, FanDuel, or Bovada, like what I use. I use Bovada because I can run game lines. Now, when I run game lines, I typically stick to straight bets. Straight bets are crucial. They are key. Sorry about the mess, by the way. I got a baby boy and I ain't got time to fucking clean up for y'all. But anyways, straight bets are way more likely to profit in comparison to like prize picks and all that stuff. So what I generally tell people is to stick to the straight bets, the sportsbook plays, and then you can run a few slips here and there if you just want to have fun. Now, in my later tips, I will give you the exact number of how much you should be doing, how much you should be placing, how much you should be doing all that jibber jabber shit. I will be getting into that later. But for right now, you have to come up with a strategy and keep in mind that you want to stick to the strategy and become insanely loyal to it. All right, some of y'all are not loyal.
Bro, what are you talking about,
all
man?
right, but for sports betting, you gotta be loyal. That's the only thing I advise you to be fucking loyal to. Now, my favorite strategy is sticking to sportsbook plays like money line, game lines, and all that stuff, and having good research behind it, by the way. Going a little bit heavier on those straight bets, on those game lines, and then you can run prize picks promos like Taco Tuesdays or whatever, and then you can run all those parlays kinda not for fun, but just not really dependent on those. You're kind of relying on the sportsbook plays because you can also go heavier on those since you're more confident and you're more likely to cash out on those. Because if you had $1,000 left on your life, I would much rather you lock that in on a straight bet than you would on anything else. Sure, the payout is gonna be a bit lower, maybe around, you know, the 1.8x or the 2x rate, but I'd rather have 2x my money than 0x. And trust me, in times of being super greedy because you're a sports bettor, that 2x is very crucial. Now, all this jibber jabbish doesn't really matter unless you have the exact numbers, which I'm gonna get into right now in my next step. What sport to bet on? Now, each sport has its own edge, its own rules, its own rhythm. If you're not really betting on the right sport to fit your style or your goals, you're kind of doing it wrong. You're basically working twice as hard for half the fucking results. People tend to throw all their money, because they're hyped up about a certain event like NFL Sunday, and they just lock in 6-leg parlays, tailing random ass props that they found off Twitter or TikTok, and then they kind of think that they're gonna become a millionaire off that. Or they lock in slips on the MLB when they've never watched a single MLB game in their life. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but you gotta do it right. I'm gonna break down the pros and cons of every single sport so that you guys can understand what I like to look at. Now, the NBA is really good because it has a shit ton of options. There's games every single day. Tons of props, tons of volume to look at, tons of data as well. If you're able to find value, find good lines, you can really swoop in and lock all that shit in and really just consistently win. The problems is that there's 82 games, so there will be random rest or load management for the players. A shit ton of injuries happen like every single day. Crazy ass blowouts, all that type of stuff. The market moves really fast and there's games back to back, so players can, get fatigued, and sometimes it's really unpredictable. Now, next up, we got the NFL. There's only one game a week for each team. Tons of public data such as injury, news, their social media, trends, weather, schemes, what plays they're gonna be making, and especially running props like their receiving yards or rushing yards and they're cashing out in one play. Like, for example, on Super Bowl, I hit for $100,000. That was pretty nice. Now, this is kind of weird, but a disadvantage is that sometimes there's not that much games, so shit gets kind of dry. Besides Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football, but sometimes it's hard to find good value lines, especially because they'll randomly throw a fucking news report at you 10 seconds before the game. Then we got hockey. A lot of you guys don't even know hockey, but it's actually pretty good for sports betting. Like me, myself, I do a lot of research into hockey and we cash out a lot. It's pretty easy to research in general, and the books tend to not really move their lines or adjust their lines that often. Also, if you know what you're looking for, a lot of the time the key players are mispriced and you get a lot of value. You use Stat King for this. The disadvantages are that you're pretty limited on props. They only really have like shots on goals, fucking goal saves and assists and shit. And a lot of the times NHL is like a luck factor. Like you randomly get like 5 shots on goal, luckily, because that player just like hit the goalpost and then it bounced back and then he hits it again, like that type of shit. Now, the MLB, there's a huge market for the MLB. Now, it may not be as popular as NFL or NBA, but there's a shit ton of options. Tons of volume, tons of data, tons of games. And books tend to struggle to adjust the lines, especially earlier in the day. But some of the disadvantages are when lineups do change, lines move around like a shit ton, it gets kind of crazy and hectic, and maybe you locked in a slip and now it's a terrible play. And also, you can like research a play perfectly, but then the bullpen just gives it away, and maybe the ump fucking counts that as a strikeout when it's not. Now, I've given you all the crucial things that you need to understand about each sport. These are kind of the main sports that I do. I do esports as well. You can get that in the Discord. But none of that matters unless you follow this next step, which is insanely crucial into you becoming profitable. So lock in. Researching your plays. We hear it time and time again. Oh, research your plays, yada, yada, yada. How did you research your plays? I use Stat King. I'm gonna give you guys a complete breakdown of exactly how to use it, how I research, what I look for, and all those types of things. So as you can see with Stat King's interface, it's extremely easy to use, and I'll walk you through it right now. Currently, at this time, I'm programming Stat King and it's only in beta. Beta is because we're at the beginning of our development stages and I'm getting through the bugs, testing it, getting feedback, all that type of stuff. But I'll walk you through every single feature, how to actually use it, L10, L20, H2H, what does that even mean? So as you can see right now, every single prop that is available on the list, you can see the available hit rates, which are the L5, L10, L20, H2H. You can see the line differences on each platform, and as you can see, depending on the line, the hit rate changes dramatically. At 4.5 here on Sleeper, the hit rate is 20%, 50%, 60%, but then once you go over here to Underdog, we're at 100%, 90%, 85%, 80%. That's why it's crucial to line shop, and with Stat King, you can do it the easiest you can on any other research tool. Oh, I forgot to fucking mention, Stat King is also free to download. So before you even get into this Yap Fest, go ahead and download it in the description below. We're working on getting it into the App Store right now. It is in the Google Play Store, but you can either get access inside the Discord or go ahead and head to the Apple Store once we get in. Now, by default, when you first download download StatKing, as you can see, it is sorted by best hit rate overall, as in taking into account the hit rates, the matchups, the rankings. It's showing you the best to worst in terms of statistics. But if you want to sort it in L10, L5, L20, whatever you want to do, you can go ahead and do that. And then if you don't care about injuries, you can toggle it off, toggle it on. So StatKing is really meant to be your own customizable app, your own research app that makes it as easy as possible to research. We're also working on integrating with all the sports books, DraftKings and FanDuel included. Now I'm gonna press close, and as you can see, let's say I want to get into researching right now, and you know, we're showing double doubles because double doubles have the best hit rates. As you can see, like, there's no way Siakam is getting a double double 100% every single time he's gone under. So let's say I just don't want to do double doubles right now. Typically I don't really care about double doubles unless I just want to increase my payout. So then once you can go over here to the filters, go ahead to props, and then, you know, to record a double double, to record triple triple, I don't really care about those statistics, so I'm just gonna filter those out. Currently only NBA is integrated with StatKing. By the time you're watching this, MLB and hopefully WNBA is integrated, and you'll be able to research those things. So then now that I filtered out the double doubles, I can just see the regular props. And now the way that StatKing is designed is actually like, you don't even really need to understand NBA or any other sport. You can kind of just scan the statistics and compare the lines. It's really good to if you want to go line shopping. Like for example, as you can see, this was last week's record on StatKing. We actually genuinely went 25 out of 26 on our props. So that's how effective StatKing is. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna get guaranteed results with StatKing, but for a research tool, it's extremely good. We also have a top pick section that just highlight the best hit rates and, you know, just calculating those type of things. But as you can see here, we got Cason Wallace, rebounds, assists over, okay? And we have plus EV on underdog, and the hit rates on here are like just really fucking good, and the opposing rank is not too bad. Now as you can see, opposing rank is right there. Now basically that just tells you the key matchups, okay? If it's a really good matchup in terms of what you're looking for, rebounds and assists, it will take the opposing rank in those categories and calculate it for you. Now if this was red, then that would tell you that it's a tough matchup and it might be difficult for Wallace to get those rebounds or assists. If this is very green, then it's a key matchup. It would be easier for him, basically. That's simple terms. We're gonna go through L5, which is last 10, L10, which is last 10 of the game, and then H2H is head to head. So Wallace is going up against Denver tomorrow. So every time he's gone up against Denver, he's hit 80% of the time against this line. We have 24/25. That basically just means last season compared to this season. So 2024 compared to 2025. Now what's also cool about StatKing is that you can see the props detail page. You can click it and then go into the details. You can, you know, compare the lines again and you can see the difference, right? So at 4.5, he's going over only once. At 3.5, he's going over 5 times. And that's why StatKing is very crucial, because I don't think there's any other platform that line shops like this. And if there is, it costs like hundreds of dollars. Now you can see the opposing team's rank. The Nuggets are ranked 7 for rebounds, and then they're ranked 29 for assists. So this tells me that, you know, the Nuggets are bigs, right? They're very big, they're good at catching rebounds. And for assists, they're kind of lacking on the defense, right? So they give up a lot of assists. And you can also go and see supporting stats. He's averaging 19.5 minutes, 0 double doubles, personal fouls. We're also gonna adjust this too. We're gonna put potential assists, potential all that stuff. We're gonna add way more statistics. You can go into L5, L20, H2H, and see all these key statistics. So let's say in his last 5, he's averaging 19.7 minutes, but head to head, he's averaging 20.5 minutes. That is a slight minute increase. So that does tell me that, you know, looking pretty solid. And also we can see that Nikola is out, Jamal Murray is probable, Westbrook is probable, Hunter Tyson's probable. So this gives me like a good idea of, you know, the Nuggets are gonna be missing key players. So rebounds and assists is probably not like a good idea if a lot of these guys were bigs. Like Aaron Gordon, if Westbrook is out, if Murray's, if all these guys are out, then that might, you know, lead me to certain decisions that I might make if they were, like, compared to if they were in. Now, I really like running 3-pointer props. They just tend to hit a lot. I'm not sure why, but I mean, it's just statistically, it just really works. And also steals. Now, as you can see, Obi Toppin, 3 points made under, we actually been spamming this a lot. Up right now at 0.5 on Sleeper, but then it's at 1.5 on Underdog. So then you have that 1 point bump, which basically means if he gets a 3-pointer, you lose on Sleeper. If he gets 1 3-pointer, on underdog, you still win. And his hit rate is very different. What I like to look at when I'm thinking about NBA is I'll look at the matchup, right? I'll look at Nuggets. I'll look at, okay, the Pacers. Are we at a home game or are we at an away game first? That's typically what I like do at the very beginning. And typically when you have ball knowledge, you kind of understand what certain matchups are. I also like to just kind of watch the games and see like, oh, if Jokic is on the heater, if blah, 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 all that type of stuff. And then I really just scroll through, and then I kind of just think about all these different things. Like let's say Nikola Jokic rebounds and an assist under. His hit rates are here. Like L5 is 100%. He's under 22.5, 100%. But Jokic, you know, it might be a key matchup where he actually might go over pretty easily, right? If they're rank 4 for assists, we know that Jokic it might have a hard time getting assists, but it's fucking Jokic. So Jokic is like the main facilitator on the Nuggets, right? So I'm gonna kind of avoid that, right? So it's just kind of these typical thought processes with the NBA. You can also understand like whether certain teams guard the paint a lot, whether they're kind of always guarding the 3-point line or not, and then you can use that to your best judgment if you want 3-pointers made over or 3 points made under, all that type of stuff. So there's like so many different factors when it goes into NBA. You do need ball knowledge in general, but as you can see with stacking, it just makes it really easy. And also keep in mind, we hit on all of these props very easily and we weren't doing that much research. We were only scanning for like a couple of minutes. So like stacking is super crucial because you need to be able to customize and filter exactly what you want to look at, right? Oh, I didn't even mention too, like if you want to add picks to your My Picks tab, you can just click that button right there, and then mid-game you'll be able to see live, right? So as you can see, I'm logging in a bunch of different props and I'll be able to track this live in-game, and you also see the probability to cash. Here's an example from another game, but you see the probability to hit right there mid-game. So depending on what prop you are, you can see live game what your chances of hitting are. Like if your player is 95% chance to hit, that gives you a lot of confidence. You know, if he's 10% to hit, you might be shaking in your boots. But it's kind of crazy how stacking is going to be free. And like if you look, we're just like actually cooking on stacking. These are real results. You can click the play-by-play and then see the play-by-play, everyone involving Wallace. And I'm pretty sure I caught value on this, right? Cason Wallace was probably at 4 or 4.5 on PrizePicks, but I got him at 3.5 on Sleeper. So the value is really crucial when you are sports betting. And like I said, guys, we do all the research for you guys in the Stacking Discord, in Secured Picks. So just head there if you guys want research. It's only 15 bucks for premium. Stacking is free for you to use, so you could just stick to this as a research tool. Whatever option you guys want to go with, but we're obviously cashing, we're using stacking, so you can come and learn from us as well. Now, I feel like this is perfect timing to get into my next step, which is bankroll management. This is what will separate you from newbie beginners type of shit from like actual veteran sports bettors, is understanding how to manage your bankroll, how to manage your units, and how to manage all of that stuff. Because to be real with you guys, a lot of beginners have a very hard time of understanding how much to bet, what to bet, and all that type of stuff. At the end of the day, it's gambling, and you know, you are going to lose. You're going to lose a slip, you're gonna lose multiple slips, you're gonna go on red streaks. You might even be on a red streak yourself. So making sure that you minimize your losses during red streaks and maximize your wins during green streaks is the key. Like typically people always go on losing streaks and they nuke. They add more and more and more to their bankroll, and they add more and more to their slips, and it just is a downward hill, and then all of a sudden you're like in debt and shit, right? Obviously we don't want that. And it works vice versa as well. If you're on a green streak, you might be nuking and then you hit it and you go crazy and then you nuke again and you get all hype off that shit, but then you're just never gonna stop until you eventually lose, which 99% of sports bettors do. So just trust me, with sports betting, you have to manage your bankroll, manage your units, and here's what that looks like. I like the 10 to 15% rule. Let's say you have $100 in a day, do not bet more than 10 to 15%, which is $10 to $15. I know that may not sound like that much. It's mainly just because when you do go on losing streaks, and let's say you miss all of your bets on that day, you're only down 10 or 15 bucks. You're only down 10 or 15%. But if you hit, you tripled your money. You know, you're up 30, 40% on a single day. If you invested into stocks and you hit a stock for 30% in a day, you would be through the roof. So keep that mentality with sports betting. Now, how much should you be betting on every single slip? You should be betting 1 to 5% on every single slip. Now, this really just depends on your risk tolerance. You can go towards 5% if you're high risk. You go towards 1% if you're low risk. It really just depends on your personal situation and all that stuff. So yeah, if you guys want like the deep insight on everything that I do. Like I'm talking about step by step, do this, withdraw this during this time and all that stuff, like high level shit. If you wanna make your first $10,000 from sports betting, like I'm talking about the serious sports bettors, click the link in the description that says join mentorship and go see if there's available spots in my mentorship. This is a very high level, exclusive inner circle where I teach you how to make your first 10K from sports betting, and it's actually a really good offer. You even get in a one-on-one chat with me. You get updated programs where I'm just teaching you, just like this, exactly how to become a profitable sports bettor and how I made millions of dollars from sports betting, really. So head to the description, go join the mentorship if it's even available. But anyways, managing your bankroll, running units stops you from redepositing and continuing to lose to the books. You don't want to literally redeposit and redeposit and redeposit every single day. You know, I mean, you guys can see it right here. I have $140,000 in my sports betting account, and this is just one of my accounts. I took this account from like 50,000 to 150 in less than a month. And I'm not betting $50,000 a slip. I'm betting 1% of my entire bankroll every single time. Now I understand you guys may not have tens of thousands of dollars to work with, but like I was explaining with the promos and all that stuff, that's how you really dig deep into it. Now the bankroll stuff, unit stuff is extremely crucial, but everything ties into this next tip. Like I'm talking about everything ties into this next tip because this is kind of what will make you do it or not, if that makes sense. But hey, just remember to go download StatKing. Now this is your betting psychology. Okay, you could do all the strategies under the moon and all of this and that, but in the heat of the moment, we all know what sports bettors like to do. We like to nuke, we like to be stupid, we like to kind of let our emotions control us. If your head is not on straight, you're just gonna fuck everything up. You're just gonna lose all your money, you know, it's that simple. The typical story of a beginner who is emotionally uncontrollable is like this. They win a couple of bets, maybe it's the start of a green streak. They feel unstoppable, they go crazy, they redeposit, they re-nuke the same slips, and you know what? Maybe they even hit. But then the next day, they do it again because they're running off of that high. And then they crash out because they lost it all. That is not what you want to do at all, because then they lost that bet and then they chase, and then they chase that slip again, and then they chase more and more, and then now they're just in a completely terrible position. You know, they hit a cold streak. Everybody is going to go through it. Like I'm on a green streak right now. I might hit a cold streak next week. But since I manage my units, I keep my head cool, I'm gonna maintain the red streak very easily. When I first started sports betting, I lost tens of thousands of dollars because of this same psychology. I used to think I was the shit when I was up, and then I used to like be all depressed and shit when I was down, and I would kind of go crazy trying to win it all back. Now that's very common, and I don't want you guys to do that, right? So that's kind of when I started locking in up here. It wasn't even about like what platforms I'm on and this and that. It was just like not allowing myself to do that. It goes down to your psychology. The rule number one is to never bet with your emotions. Follow a system and stick with that system every single time and never break it. Now I get it. I like to have fun too. I throw nukes here and there and I hit them most of the time, but that's because I'm very, very picky with those situations. I don't act as if those situations are very like all over the place. You know what I mean? Because then you're kind of giving yourself an excuse to do dumb shit, and you're giving yourself an excuse to lose. Next up, don't bet what you cannot lose. Like seriously, all of you guys watching this, none of this shit is financial advice. Do not bet what you cannot lose. You're sports betting, you're not like investing. You're not like, you know, you're not in a system or in an industry that is sustainable or reliable. I mean, most of the shit that I see during the NBA sometimes looks like outright rigged. I mean, if you want to take that stocks approach, just make sure you're doing the proper amount of research or leaving it up to someone like me to do the research for you. That way you can have the utmost confidence in what you're doing. Because if you end up missing that play, you run your units, you did everything right, but it's just gambling. At the end of the day, it's gambling. But if you just continue and continue that process, you're gonna come out on top, especially if you're running statistically profitable bets. It's like in the statistics. Now that's pretty much it. You guys have the full beginner's guide to sports betting. Just remember, if you wanna take it even higher, you can join my high level mentorship if there are spots available, or you can just join secured picks outright to come get my personal plays that I give you along with the stats and all that. And hey, it's free, so go download StatKing.